How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield. All right, we're starting up. All right, Starr, I'm with you. We got some very cool stuff today. I am coming in honestly, openly, and probably highly ignorantly ready to learn. So please tell me about you, and then what's the message, where we going? And we got so many stuff. I see you pageanted out, so I have questions, of course. The floor is yours. Who are you?
My story is I've been a nurse since 2008, and I started off in long-term care because my grandmother, she took care of my grandfather after he had a stroke. She was a ICU nurse, and she left her career so that my grandfather wouldn't have to go in a nursing home. And when I graduated, all of my classmates, they went to the fancy hospitals in the area. They became ICU nurses, and I wanted to care for the elderly because that was my love and my passion, and that's what I did. So what I saw in the nursing homes disturbed me. You know, I had patients that they would go weeks. One patient even went a year without a shower. And I would go to management, and their cries, their neglect, their isolation, their loneliness, their pain inspired me to become their advocate. But in order to do so, I had to increase my education. I had to go out, become an ER nurse, become a nurse practitioner. And I joined the Forum of Pageants because I can increase my awareness of the plights the elderly face and reach more people. And doing interviews like this is how I promote my cause, Aging with Dignity, because I want people to know what it's really like to live in a nursing home, because it's not very transparent what people face.
Okay. I'm going to ask questions because I don't know yet. So
Go
on one
for it.
hand,
Yeah.
I'm with you on like, okay, yeah, the elderly places aren't treated very well. And like anybody who's ever put their parent into a place or a grandparent into a place, they're like, this is a rough experience. And I've even often heard people say it to the point where they're like, don't even put me there. Don't even, if it gets to that far, I'd rather just be gone before you stick me in a place like this. You know, this is probably one of the bigger fears you see parents going, are you kids going to be there for me when it's my turn to be taken care of? Like I took care of you being raised. Like, is it going to go the other way? And a lot of times it looks like it's going into one of these places like this. So there's a lot of fear around it because there is a reality to it. I'm with you there. How does being in the pageant help you to help people know more about that?
Well, my goal is to reach legislators, and I want people to see the conditions. I want people to know how bad it is. I want them to know how these people live, that they live in a 4-person room. And to do that, we need cameras. We have cameras in jails. We have them in schools. Why shouldn't we have them in the nursing homes? But we hide behind the HIPAA laws. So we isolate our elderly, and the ones without families to advocate for them, they're just left in there. And if you don't check on your loved one, you know, they're in trouble. And so I'm working with someone in my area that's running for Senate, and I'm speaking to hundreds of people about the elderly, what they face. And I'm working within the groups of the other pageant communities, and I'm doing live recordings, podcasts, reaching out and trying to grow a bigger audience for my own podcast and reach as many people as possible because I want to be their voice.
Okay. If you're the voice, and you're like, we need cameras. Then what happens? Okay, we got cameras. Let's say it happens. We get cameras. Well, who's doing the monitoring? Who's doing the policing? Who's doing, like, what's the plan? So, like, we've got to put this in order to make a change or to make a difference. It's got to be more than there's a camera, because if nobody's watching cameras, then it doesn't matter. So how do we create a system that works?
We do have a system in place, but we're not enforcing it. You know, I was a nursing home manager for 5 years. You know, I've got over a decade of experience in long-term care. And in the beginning of my career, the laws were better enforced. The state surveyors would come in. If we had someone break down to, a huge hole in their behind, we'd get a fine. If someone fell out of bed, I saw someone fall out of bed, break both their legs, the facility got a fine. Now that doesn't happen. The public outrage needs to occur. It's illegal. Let me give you an example. I have families, because I have 20 nursing home patients as a nurse practitioner nearby. They are not allowed to record anything. They're not allowed to go in and take pictures of what the food looks like, the 4-person room with the fecal material on the floor, the bugs on the food, their loved one laying in bed with their tray out of reach, water cups that haven't been filled. The public can't see this. The family can't take pictures of this. They're not allowed to share it because of the HIPAA laws. So they have no recourse. They can call the state and complain, and the state comes in and do nothing.
Yeah, that's
So
super sad, and it's really messed up for
these
that.
people are defenseless.
Well, this gets into, like you said, enforcement used to do things about this. There used to be
Yeah.
people who actually did something, but now it seems like who's enforcing you're not allowed to take photos? Like, who's doing that? Who's the enforcer
Well,
there?
our healthcare system is run by people that make money, hospital administrators,
Okay.
nursing home owners.
Yeah,
And
but who's physically stopping? Like, if I was going in and going, "Hey, I'm recording. This is an unsafe environment." Do I have to fight like 3 guards or something? Like, what happens?
Well, the nurse won't allow you to take it because they're afraid of losing their job.
But I mean, like, is she gonna wrestle me? Like, what does that mean? She don't want to wrestle me. That's not a safe
Nobody's
move.
going to wrestle you, but if you're so let's say your mom's there.
Yeah.
And you take a picture of your mom's food and you take it to administration and you say, I'm going to report this. They'll tell you, go ahead.
Okay.
You know,
Then I will.
Your mother will be treated worse.
Okay. I'll record this too.
And then they'll send her somewhere else.
So then this is where it gets into like, okay, so we're talking about the enforcement. If they're saying they'll call my bluff, that means like whoever it is we're trying to reach here, like let's say I'm with you, I'm on your cause. Who are we trying to reach that would actually be able to make a difference? Let's say it's exposed. But I mean, what does the public need to do then? What do we have to do?
Public outrage.
How? Like, do we have to go break buildings, or we have to go picket somewhere?
Maybe.
Like, what does it mean?
Maybe we need to reach our legislators. People need to know. I believe the reason why nothing is being done is because people don't know how bad it is.
No, I'm with you. Let's say I'm on your team, but I got to know, like, if we aim at nothing, we're going to hit it every time. I got to know where's my target. Well, if we're looking to get action, like, we need something to happen. Like, we need somebody to do something.
The target is the nursing home administrators.
Yeah,
so
if they're in on it.
If they know that I'm going to go in here and take 1,000 pictures and put it on YouTube, and everybody's going to see how bad they are, no one's going to go there.
But it sounds like they're like, go ahead. We don't care.
Yeah, they are.
So then go ahead. They don't seem worried about that strategy. So who would need to be the enforcer to come in and go like, no, we're going to make it so it has to happen. And if we get to legislation and they're like, we don't care, I'm golfing buddies with that guy, I'm not going to do anything. Then what do we do? Who do we have to go to? We have to throw rocks at grandma's at window or something so that way it works? I don't know the game plan.
I mean, it is really ridiculous. I mean, the game plan is that the state of Michigan, when you call them, because someone's been eating rotten food, and you show them a picture, they come in and they find the building.
Yeah, but all right, they say, all right, fine us. We don't care. We're not changing anything. Or they, well, because we were fined, we got to give worse food. Well, the issue is they're not, and I guess maybe I'm not as clear as I should be. The issue is they don't get fined. Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like anybody who would be an authority,
they don't do anything about it,
is actually doing the right thing. And so this is like, at what level of authority can we really say the right thing has to be done, or there is a consequence worse than even just being fined? Because like there's something that's not happening even with these things. Like there seems like there's a breakdown in just the leadership period, which I'd be hard pressed to call leadership, but just people who have the authority name tags.
Well, let's say my governor, Gretchen Whitmer, I believe that if she saw 100 pictures online, if people were allowed to go in there with cameras, take 100 pictures, and she saw how bad it was, she would call up the state attorney general's office and say, why are things so horrible in there? Why are you not fining them for this?
And then
I believe it needs
let's
to
say
be a bet.
they give Gretchen the runaround, like, oh no, we definitely have, and we've taken care of this, and that's not a real thing, and this is propaganda, and it's not real.
Well, and Gretchen would walk in there because I was working at Garden City Hospital, and I know Gretchen.
Hmm.
People, I'm not pro anybody or against anybody, but let me tell you what happened with Gretchen. Gretchen heard about the flood at Garden City Hospital. I was kind of an off story, but I was pregnant, working in the pandemic, and the Garden City Hospital flooded. I mean, we were all the way up from the basement to the whole hospital was flooded. We were doing CPR in water.
Hmm.
And I was 9 months pregnant. Gretchen Whitmore came out and she looked at the hospital because she knew it was flooded. Gretchen's not paying any attention to the nursing homes because she doesn't think there's a problem. But she knew Garden City Hospital was flooded. So guess what? She came out, she looked at the place, she said, wow, this place is full of water. This is terrible. And we got a huge grant and they cleaned up the flood.
Cool. I love it. I love the story. All right, how do we get Gretchen then to actually take the time out of her day to go into nursing homes?
I think if she saw enough pictures of all this rotten food and people laying, in the hallways, all of their bashed up heads on the floor, I think if she saw how bad it was, she'd go and she'd check some of these places out.
Listen, I don't know which places we're talking about. If you want to make the noise, make the noise. Which place are you talking about? Which one should
I argue they're all bad.
Okay, but I mean,
some are worse than others, but
sure. I mean, there's got to be some right now that you're like, this is the one. I mean, listen, I don't know them. I'd say, hey, who is it that you would say people should be checking out this nursing home for sure? This is the biggest.
I can't name ones in particular because of legal reasons, but there are some that are horrible.
Okay, this is again where, like, if we go in towards justice system and we say we can't say where there's injustice because of justice, I get confused.
And that's where the laws are not protecting seniors.
So then, if we're
because
going
we
to
don't
legislation,
we don't enforce the laws that we have in place.
Who made that law?
We did, I guess.
How did we make that law? I don't remember making the law. I grew up in Michigan. Just say I lived in Garden City. Like, I grew up in Michigan. I grew up in the Detroit area. I was in Redford for most of it, and I moved around Livonia, Westland. I've lived out there. To say, like, I don't remember ever doing the vote to say let's make it so older people have to live miserably. I don't remember that one.
Well, we didn't make that law. We have what's called the legislation for nursing homes, the Residents' Bill of Rights, and that law states that the residents have certain rights within the nursing homes, and the goal of this Bill of Rights is for people to live with dignity, to age with dignity, and the problem is they're not enforcing it.
Right.
And
so I don't know where this. Like I said, I'm with you. I'm in the fight. Let's figure this out. Who needs to be doing an enforcement? Should we be getting mobs together to go in and start cleaning up, or else we unify a crew together? Like, is there a head smashing crew that we need to get together and say, do this right?
And
what has to be
done?
And
I'm not for violence, but when we see violence, what do we do when we see poor conditions in schools? When we see what people rally together in the groups and they try to do something.
Right.
Do you see anyone really trying to do anything about the elderly?
Well, they're organizing because of injustice, and injustice is part of our anger triad things. This is how we operate inside of these things. And so when we see injustice, I'm with you. We're injustice. It's wrong. This is wrong. It's not right. But who do we need to enforce proper justice, and which person needs to be outreach? Is it Gretchen? Who is the person that makes the call to go, everything needs to change, let's put this into action? Because it's one thing to have awareness, but awareness doesn't do anything. But it's another thing to say there's action, and we're going to actually do the right thing. Doing the right thing and knowing something's wrong is not the same category.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have, and you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or keep doing what you've always done? If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We've got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story.
You're right. And that's why I don't just bring awareness, because I think a lot of, we've gone around and around, and I agree. You bring awareness, There's awareness of this and awareness of that.
Mhm.
And a lot of what I do is action. So what I've started doing is providing free healthcare, because we know that our healthcare system is a problem. And I can't solve the problem of the conditions of the nursing home on my own. I
Right.
can tell people about it. So maybe one day there will be a movement, try to inspire people. I don't know who can
Yeah.
solve this.
I don't know
I,
either.
I, I don't. I don't have the answer to that. I'm not going to bring world peace as Mrs. Michigan Captivating. I'm not. But what I will do is small things to help people. Like, as you know, I went to school to be a nurse, and then I saw people needed things. And instead of trying to make as much money as possible, like a lot of my counterparts as nurse practitioners, a lot of them, they do injectables. They do the Botox, they make the cosmetics. What I do is I provide free services for the elderly. Like at the local senior center, I'm going to do free blood pressure screening every month. You can come in, I'll check your blood pressure, make sure you're okay. If you need something, I'll help you find a place to get low cost care. Those are things I can do to make things better.
Is there any places that you can go, like we actually do know that they're actually trying to do a good job and recommend, like even create a website that says, like, here's the rating scales or something, if you're going to do the awareness to say now people can make better choices or be able to know that these ones are not that good and these ones are good, and even creating some sort of a indifferent measurement
Handout.
scale that says that, is there different, not even handouts, there's got to be a site or something they can go, these are the right places, these are the wrong places. Can that even be done?
Well, are you talking about doctors or nursing homes?
About nursing homes. If you say this is
Well,
monstrous
if you go to
conditions,
Nursing Home Compare, there's a site called that, or
yeah.
even on the government site, they have ratings, and there's the 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star.
How
And you can
accurate
look
would you
at,
say that they are, like in your opinion?
well, you have to look at the total scale of things.
Mhm.
You have what's called special focus facilities. And if it's a special focus facility, you don't want to go there. An example of, so there was a case of a patient that, and this was a long time ago, he got out of the building and they found his dead body in a garbage can.
Mm.
That building became a special focus facility because that's horrible. They didn't even pay attention to the fact that he was missing. And then they found him outside in the garbage can. And I'm not going to say where that is, but special focus facilities have done that sort of thing.
Mm.
They've,
Is I don't know the story. Is the implication that, like, this guy was thrown away in a garbage can? Like that happened there, or he got out and went to sleep and died in
we
a
don't
garbage can?
know.
I don't
We
know.
don't. It's not known
Okay.
how the person's body is in the garbage can. It's not known.
Okay. Yeah. So
This was not recent. This was within the last decade.
yeah.
But this is the type of thing. If you see special focus facility or 1-star facility, this is the kind of thing that's happened there.
So watch out for 1-stars. Don't go there.
Or anything below 3. If it's a 5-star building, even those are the buildings you want to go to. But it's going to be difficult to get if you're poor or on what's called Medicaid.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to get in a 5-star building.
So what are people supposed to do, though? Because they don't want to go to the 1-star, but they don't have the financial options. Is there any opportunities that they can go, like, this is the better place to go, or do this instead? I just want to make sure if we're doing awareness, it's at least to help.
Your family has to advocate for you.
How so?
And
Like, because if there's like, you have to go in and like, my mom's in a place. Like you said, my mom. My mom's in a place, and I go in and I go like, no, we're taking pictures here, and we're gonna create our own
so
movement
the
here.
things you can do, if you're in a nursing home and it's not a good place for you, is you can call what's called the state ombudsman and speak with them about your choices. You can call the state of Michigan, but I always say the recommendation I make is to talk to the administration and look at ask for the Bill of Rights for the patient. Every building, when you check in, they should give you a Bill of Rights, something that you go through that are your rights and responsibilities as a patient. If they're violating them, you want to notify administration. You want to keep a notebook every day as a family member of if what's going on, if things are being done wrong. You want to write down the time and date. You want to keep a log in that notebook.
Okay. And then who do I give my notebook to? Like, let's say I
You
have
keep it for yourself. You keep it for yourself for your own records, and if you need to file a complaint with the state of Michigan, you give the times, dates, specific instances of what's happened, to your loved one. Like at 5:03 a.m., I received a call from the nurse. Mother had been on the floor. At 7 a.m., I went into the building. Mother was non-responsive, had a black bruise on her head. 9 a.m., mother was in the wheelchair, no oxygen. Those are the types of things you write down, and you keep them in your records because the times, dates, specific instances are important. And sometimes you may have to file a report more than once. You may have to call every day, and you just keep advocating for your family.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm with you.
Yeah,
Just
no, but that's
to who? Like that's where I want to make sure. Like if I'm
you
reporting,
call. There is
like who do we
your
got?
individual state will have a elder abuse reporting line. You call that.
Okay, and then
You
these
state your
these
parent.
people create like they have like okay, we have the elder abuse report line, and then they are like we get in touch with these people, and then this happens, and then this crew comes in and they help
What they'll
fix
do
it.
is if they have within a certain time period to file an investigation,
Mm-hmm.
and they may dismiss the investigation or they may find the facility. Nothing may be done the first time the report's filed. Nothing, or so you may have to do it 5 or 6 times.
So wouldn't that be where the issue is then? Is the people who do hold the accountability or have the ability to actually do the right thing, even at the level of the people who would be the enforcers of do the right thing, are not doing the right thing?
I believe it's a staffing issue too. Yes and no.
Okay.
They may be so overburdened. Let's say you're working at the place where they call in the numbers, and you have 20 complaints an hour,
Yeah.
and there's 5 of you, and you're supposed to go investigate all of them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Right. What are they? What do they do?
I mean, how do you get through all those complaints?
So they don't, right? I'm assuming they
They
don't.
don't
Yeah,
probably.
they
I mean,
don't.
I don't know hypothetically.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Like that's why I'm asking. I
Yeah,
don't know. And so
I don't
like
know.
this is where it's tricky because like I want to be able to support the solution, but I don't know which solution to support because it doesn't seem like anybody's actually actively solving anything as much as just going like, well, you can't. Well, I don't know if that's the answer either. So at some point you can. So who's supposed to be the organization or the group that says we do the right thing no matter what? And it doesn't matter what legislation or what, administration or whatever. Is it right or is it wrong? Is a human condition thing. Are they in safe conditions? Yes or no? This isn't an opinion question. There's poop on the floor. That's not healthy. There's bugs on the food. That's not good food. Like, this is a rotten situation, or this is an unhealthy or unsafe condition, or this isn't being taken care of very well. Is it a staffing issue? Then we need more staff. Is it a quality control issue? Because if you're going to say the bugs on the food is because the staff isn't cooking well enough, it's like, well, what's the facility look like? Why is there bugs here? Like, Fair enough. So who does the right thing?
It all boils down to one thing. We have to stop making money off of sick people in America. We
Well,
have to, we have to stop letting corporations benefit from the poor.
okay. Well,
That's,
the
I mean,
corporation
we
part,
could,
like
and
I'm with you. I'm with you. We got corporations, like so you're talking like big pharma and stuff like that. The people who
big
make money off of
pharma,
sick people. Okay.
hospital administration, there are middlemen in this industry. They're scraping money out of the system and it's hurting people,
All right.
the sick, the elderly. And
But
it's
I'm
a
with
huge issue. And this is where it all stems from.
all right. How do we even begin to solve that problem? Like if we're gonna like we have to raise the awareness so that the people who are preying on the sick are no longer being like fed the lion's share. What's the answer so that we can like if we're moving it, if we're gonna do something, and if I'm in your corner, Starr, let's go. Where are we
So
going?
there's an organization I'm partnered with, and it's called Patients Rising,
Patients Rising.
and it brings they work with Washington, and it's lobbying, and they patients tell their stories about how the healthcare system is hurting them, and they have sit-ins in Washington, and they're lobbying for better conditions for everyone, and their focus topics are things like biologics for there's diseases like rheumatoid arthritis where you need really expensive biologic medicine that's not covered. And there is a class called a patient advocacy class, and things like that are the solution because it's really a top-down problem. The nursing home issue is a small part of a bigger equation.
Right.
And advocacy groups like that are part of what I do. Is that I'm involved with that, and I encourage people to join groups like that so that collectively we can try to put pressure on the top. And even though we're the small voices, if enough of us gather together, and that's part of the camera thing. You asked, do we need to beat down the nursing homes? Maybe we do. Maybe we need to knock them down and build them up because people need to get mad. People need to stop accepting the fact that we treat our elderly people worse than we treat our animals. If we put our animals in kennels and treated them like we treated our elderlies, we would rise up. We would, the ASPCA people would rip the kennels apart, and we aren't mad enough. And I think that if we saw on YouTube, you put one video on, go look on TikTok, one video of an elderly person approved, people are outraged. Think if there were 1,000, those nursing homes would be burnt to the ground. People would be in their homes.
Well, it doesn't I mean like because I don't know if anger and rage and burning buildings down is the path
I
to
don't think that's the
solution.
answer, but I think that people aren't mad enough.
Maybe. And I think that like that's one of those things where um the Aristotle aspect of is all anger bad? And they're like, well, it does give you the ability to see injustice and be able to have that motivation to do something about it. So I'm
No,
fair that not all anger is bad. But I think that if you have mob mentality mixed in with pissed off
no,
people,
no, not
it
my bad. We do
doesn't create
peaceful
good things.
things.
Well, burning a building to the ground is a lot less peaceful than it sounds.
Well, no, we'd get the Well, I argue that some of the buildings are already about to burn to the ground. In the past couple of years, I've been in nursing homes and they've started on fire while the patients are in there, and they're about patients are smoking in their rooms. So we
Sure.
wouldn't have to work very hard to burn them down.
No, I don't think that. But I also
you
know
know,
that, like, getting into pyromancy may not be the fastest way to peace. And so, I'm, so
I mean,
I'm
we gotta be. I'm telling you, like these buildings. I mean, last year I was rounding, and the whole building is filled with smoke. And I'm standing in there, and then all the doors are shut, and I'm like, "What the is going on?" And they're like, "It's on fire." The administrator's standing there. They shut the doors with all of the patients that are in their beds, and the smoke is filling them. I'm trying to break through the doors to get my patient out of the smoke because this patient had bad lung issues, and the smoke would kill her. And they're like, "No, you can't go through there. The fire department's coming." And Then I realized they had moved my patient to another unit that wasn't on fire. And so, I mean,
It sounds like this is like one of those like it's a
it's
real
ridiculous.
life sitcom, like, or not even sitcom, like one of those like
It's
drama
not even a
shows.
sitcom. And they're all just sitting there, the building's on fire, and the fire marshal comes out,
Yeah.
and then everybody just goes home. And I'm like, and I look at the manager and I go, what happened? And she goes, oh, it happens all the time. It's something with the radiators. And I was like,
Jeez. Yeah, this is it's an interesting thing. So patience rising, this is one option to make it so we can do things in a peaceful way to create more peace. I don't know if what the answers are in this, because this is I give you credit for saying this is my field that I'm passionate in. Because raising the awareness is important for this. I don't know what the answers are, which is seems like it's a top down issue. It does seem like that
and
these patients rising are seeing that too, right? Like I just this is the first I've heard of it. So
and impact on healthcare. That's another one. They recently had the major issue, that the reason why everything is so bad in healthcare. If you go to the ER, have you been to the ER? I don't. You look like you're pretty healthy, so I don't think you go to the ER. But
I mean, I've been there before. I'm not without any track record at the ER. I've been there before.
you fallen off your roof or something, or.
Well, I mean, even still, I can't talk about anxiety or stress impacts without having to go through it. So even before I started studying to understand it, I thought that I was having a heart attack when I found out
Yeah.
it was stress induced. So I've been to the ER, like I've been there.
Yeah, I was an ER nurse for 5 years during the pandemic, and most of my patients, actually, half of them were on ventilators from COVID, and the other half were freaking out because they were having anxiety attacks or overusing alcohol. So I have a background in caring for those with mental health, and
Yeah,
I can tell you the biggest problem during COVID was not COVID; it was the mental health issues that
for
people
sure.
face.
Absolutely. And it still is. This is where, like, there's no shortage of job security in this field, because I work with people now who are still dealing with the residual aspects of trying to understand what the heck is going on inside of their mind throughout all of that stuff. And there's a lot of grief, loss, damage that was done during that time, especially when you start getting into the fear and you start getting into the fear mongering and the proprietors of it. But then you start getting into how much control and how much stuff also is being utilized by people who are supposed to be looking out for us, because you can now induce massive amounts of fear into the population. People become highly pliable when everyone's terrified. And this is not even a new thing. This has been done thousands of times throughout history. This is not a new thing, but people still fall for it.
I can tell you that I worked during the COVID pandemic. I was in grad school. I was working 70 hours a week, and I was I was in the hospital one night when we ran out of ventilators. And one patient, I was breathing with him manually, and I didn't know if a ventilator would ever come. And then and I breathed for him manually with the bag for several hours, and he ended up dying, and many people did. I remember one man, he had a stuffed dog he would always hold on to, and it was just me in the hallway, and he was holding on to the dog, and he stopped breathing, and I called for other people, other nurses, to help me resuscitate him. There was no one. There was no one to help me, and he died holding that stuffed dog. And I had to take all these people, and I had to put them in bags, and I had to put them in a truck that was a refrigerator truck, because our morgues were full. And then I had to call the family and tell them that they were going straight to be burned, and they would never see them. One woman, she was in her 90s, and she was dying, and she was calling for her mother. There were no vaccines back then. Many of my healthcare workers were getting sick and dying. I was watching them die, and she was calling for her mother. And older people, when they die, they call for their mother. And I knew if I touched her, I could die, but I couldn't watch her call for her mother. So I got in bed with her, and I held her. I rocked her. I told her it was okay. because I believed that God would protect me. But after that, I've had to learn how to manage my fear because having a son, I'm afraid many days that he'll die because I saw so many people die. I've seen children die. I've seen horrible accidents, and it's not easy to come back from, and I understand pain. I My anxiety is my pain shoved so deep down that I never want to share it with anyone. And the reason why I connect so well with the elderly is that I watched so many of them die. And that's why I just want them, the ones that are left, I want them to have better.
Yeah, that's a lot to go through. And it's a lot, especially the
I can't hear
experiences
you.
that, oh, so it's a lot to go through. And it's a lot to experience all in one thing. Like it's a lot to take on all at once. And yeah, you're right. Like even being able to work through that creates a whole new set of issues, even for yourself, trying to be the person who serves others, who helps you, and those things are there too. And this is why there's a lot of people teaming up now to help first responders and to help the people who are like, everything from EMT, nurses, firefighters, police officers. These people are in the middle of all of it, all the way to our service people and our veterans. So like, there's a lot of people unifying right now for that. One person I advocate for too, especially for working through that part, for the PTSD of how much trauma you had to go through while people were going through their things. I'll do a plug for a company called 220. That's Dan Jarvis, and I'll give a props to him. He's working with first responders, and he takes care of it. He's like, I'll just take care of it. There's no charge on it. He's like, if veterans and people who are like, you need help. He's a master in neuro-linguistic programming. He helps people break the triggers for PTSD. They don't call it PTS. They call it, or PTSD. They call it PTS because it's not a disorder that's uncurable. He's cured it thousands and thousands of times, and they keep a record. I think there are like 6,000 people who like they no longer have the symptoms from this who are first responders. And so for stuff like that, I do want to give like there's hope for people who are like, I went through all of this stuff, but who helps me? Like there's places that are made for first responders, nurses, EMTs, firefighters, police officers, veterans. There's a place for it. So just putting that out there for like, where's the hope for us? We're the ones who have to go through helping the people who are helpless. Where do we take our stuff to? There's at least, one other avenue there to support you on that one. That's a lot.
Well, and a lot of what pageants are for me is something for me to have time for myself. When my son was born, I left the ER. I was all alone in the house, isolated, and I was dealing with all of that stuff that I just described to you. It's a chance for me to be with other women because, all of my friends that I'd work with, they were going through their own emotional stuff and just do something fun for myself. And I'm not a drinker. I don't like to go to the bar. So I had to find something else to do. And this was a better avenue for me. And I am not much, you think of beauty in pageants. I wanted something service related. So it was a good way for me to take my life in a different direction. And it did help my mental health issues because I had eaten, in the pandemic and COVID, they gave us free Little Caesars every day in the ER. And I ate that every day. And I was 180 pounds and I've lost 40 pounds. And, I'm grateful to say I've taken my life a different direction after that. I don't want to say I've recovered because you never get over something like what I've seen, but I feel I'm happy now.
Okay. Yeah. So you turned this, so I guess we'll change into like the pageant aspect. You went from like the service aspect to needing, it was almost like your own personal outlet, but you were trying to find a healthy way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so how did this like just, maybe that can help some people who are also, especially women who are like, I don't know what I want to do or something I could be passionate about or something I can find a healthy hobby or habit or passion. Like maybe you can describe that transition of how, that goes into like even understanding even the aspect of what is beauty in the beauty industry and how that relates to women too. I'd like to hear your opinion. You're in the thick of it.
I think people think that you have to be a size 2 and look a certain way to be in a pageant. And I can tell you that when I actually lost the 40 pounds and competed in my first pageant after winning, they told me I came in too thin. They picked a girl 20 pounds heavier than me. The stereotypes and the girls they're picking are different. And any girl can enter and win. It's not like the past. And there's all different kinds, especially for married women. And it's more about service in your community. And you find a project that you want to work on, such as I'm the elderly. Some women, I have a girlfriend that competes with me and she's got a history of breast cancer. She does breast cancer events. Every woman can find her path in pageantry and a pageant for her, whether she weighs 100 pounds and is 5 foot or is 200 pounds. There are queens at all shapes and sizes and backgrounds, and it's inclusive. We're in a state of inclusivity in pageantry, and we're not.
That's interesting.
Like I said, I had to gain some weight back. I was too thick. They told me, you're too thin. You got to gain some weight. So I've been eating my burgers.
Okay, fair enough. Help me as a guy who's never been in a pageant and I never went to one. Help me with some of the stereotypes that are there that like this is what it needs to be, or this is behind the scenes stereotypes that people think, like you said, size 2, or I hear the size 0 stuff, and like we're on the guy side. On the men's side, these aren't conversations.
Yeah, my husband thinks that the pageant is just about getting me more tall shoes. So
all right.
I
So
have
he's
to
like,
explain to
excuse for shoes.
He's
Okay.
just like, oh yes, you're doing another pageant. I'm going to go get more tall. And he brings home these tall shoes, and I'm like, you want me to fall? And it's not.
So he loves the tall shoes. He's pro tall shoes, and he gets you tall shoes.
Oh, he's like, oh yes, another pageant. I'm going to get some tall shoes, and then he gets really disappointed when I'm not wearing the tall shoes. And I said, it's not just about the tall shoes, honey. It's about how we help other people.
All right, is that like his own thing? I've never even had the tall. Is this like, I don't know this. I'm going to be just hope it sounds like fetish thing or something. Like, I just love the tall shoes. Like, I don't know what that means.
I don't know if it's a fetish for him. He just thinks that when I enter a pageant, he's got to get more tall shoes.
Yeah, but he seems more excited about tall shoes than you do.
No, I mean, the tall shoes are good because they make you taller. But if they're too tall, then, I have balance issues, so I'll do
like stilts. He's like, I got you stilts, babe. It's gonna be awesome.
The stilts. I mean, there's tall shoes, and then there's a ball hat.
Yeah, you have to strap the top on so that way you can walk with your stilts. Okay.
Well, the stilts, you can fall. I mean, and especially they take you on the top riser, and then you're up there a while, then you just go. Whoa!
That's dangerous. All right, well, help me some stereotypes. Give me some stereotypes in the industry that like I don't know about.
That people like me are dumb. I mean, I have a master's degree in nursing. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, and I did undergraduate research that all we do is walk around in shiny clothes and tall shoes, and that's not true. It's especially in the Mrs. division. If you are not doing something called a platform or a social initiative, which is trying to impact your community, raising awareness for a cause, helping others, fundraising for, volunteering at a homeless shelter. If you're not doing that, the judges will not pick you.
Okay.
They're not interested in the prettiest girl does not win the pageant. Because beauty is not what in pageants what you think it is anymore.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. So
yeah,
they're not dumb.
I mean,
they're making a difference in the
it's
community.
Usually interview, or 25 to 50%. So if you can't talk, think about have you ever been on a date with a girl that you can't talk to? She looks good.
Of course.
What do you think of her?
Oh no, yeah, it's rough. It's
rough. You're just like, oh. So when you pick a queen, you got to have someone you can have a conversation with. You don't want to be struggling like, oh my God, do I really have to talk to this girl for another 15 minutes? Will she quit eating so I can take her home? Oh,
yeah, I'm not taking her home. Oh, you taking her home? I'm not taking
her to her home.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop her off. Home. Yeah, no, she's not coming home.
I mean, so you have to be able to have a conversation.
Okay, right. So they're not dumb. They're making a difference. Give me another stereotype.
I mean, I don't know what the stereotypes are. You throw one out there.
I mean, you said that. All right, so they have to be a certain size. That's pretty much
all I know.
That one changed. They just have to be a size, because I mean, like you look at some of the curses for women.
No, size 2 is not true anymore. All inclusive, all sizes.
Okay, so now like now even like what would be considered even like by the health standards an overweight girl can now be the pageant winner.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that changed a lot, like especially even in my lifetime. Like I've seen pageants. I've never been to one. I've never been in the scene. I've never been included. But we know what Miss America or Miss Universe,
Yeah.
we know those things exist. But I've never seen the big girl on Miss America or Miss Universe ever be the winner.
Those are younger girl pageants. Those are different. I'm talking about Mrs. pageant.
Okay, so the Misses is a different thing. Again,
Yes, we're married ladies.
as if I know nothing. Like, I don't know. So,
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so a Mrs. pageant is different than the Miss pageants. And Miss is younger, and that has a very different stereotype.
There's different divisions that you can do. There's a teen usually divisions in pageants, like
Okay.
Miss Teen USA. There's Miss USA, such as the Miss Universe organization.
Okay.
There's Miss Universe. Those are younger girls, and they tend to look for beauty. Now, when you're in your early 40s, like myself, usually you're married, there's pageants called, Mrs. pageants.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also pageants called Ms. pageants, and those are for girls that are divorced, or ladies that are divorced, remarried, single. And then there's senior pageants. There's pageants if you're 80 years old.
Okay.
Miss Senior Michigan, and there's a talent portion. All ages.
There's a divorced division. That's wild. So there's a whole pageant for ladies that were divorced.
You can be divorced and compete.
Okay, that's interesting. Just so I didn't misunderstand, is this like you compete with the girls who just never been married, or this is like you've been divorced
you're in a separate division.
Okay, so there's a divorced category.
It's not divorced because we call it. Let me give you an example. My pageant, Miss Captivating. I'm in the Misses.
Okay.
So I'm married. There's a Miss. They're younger, unmarried ladies. Then there's a Ms. They can be unmarried, whether they're single or divorced. They're older than 27, I believe.
Okay.
And then there's a teen, which is up to, I believe, 18.
And you said, and this is where like I said, I got to go with the terminology because I don't understand. You said the teen and the Miss is more about beauty, and the Misses is more about community.
This one is a platform-based pageant, but in a pageant like Miss Universe,
yes,
they're very beauty-oriented.
So, what's the difference on that one? Where like it's not about community as much; they just say some nice stuff, but it's mostly aesthetics.
Well, there is that part to it, but it is aesthetics a lot. I mean, but you see a lot of those girls. I mean, you've got 50 girls competing. I mean, who are you going to pick if they all look good? You got to pick the one that's doing something, right?
Yeah, I'm shit at judging on that one.
If
I'm not a judge.
I pick you as a judge, and there's 50 of me standing there, and I look and I tell you to pick one. Who are you going to pick?
Yeah, not my game. I do not. It's not my thing.
Well, one day it might be. You might be. I may call you up and be like, "I need you to judge this pageant."
Holy smokes!
You're gonna be like, "No way."
I'm gonna be like, you got the wrong. I'm terrible.
So hypothetically, who would you pick?
I have no idea. Like, and this is why
But
it's tough for me.
If there were two of me, and one was just sitting at home eating bonbons, and the other one was out there feeding the homeless, who would you pick?
I don't know. The one who's feeding the homeless bonbons?
I mean,
are there any bonbons still?
Exactly.
Where is bonbons, by the way? Has anybody seen bonbons for a while? That was a brand. Can we just be real for a second? Hold on, Starr. Can you even buy bonbons?
I am being real.
Can we
Where's
even
the bonbons?
Can we even buy these? Is there an option to buy bonbons? Is that a thing? Hold on, because I remember that was a.
What do you like to eat?
I like food. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, listen. Let me tell you what I like to eat. You ever go to you have Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah.
Oh, I like the Oreo Supreme cheesecake.
Bonbons. Okay.
You ever get one of those?
You said
bonbons.
Yeah, I didn't know this. This is it's chocolate covered ice cream nuggets.
Yeah.
I never had these apparently. I've had chocolate covered ice cream, but never as like individual little things. Honestly, I'll be very open. I never had bonbons. You can still buy them. I don't know anybody who eats these, but it's the most common term sitting around eating bonbons. but I've never had them myself. I might actually get some. It's $40. There's only one in stock. It looks like on Etsy here.
$40?
Let's see. I wonder if there's another option here. There's 100. It seems like these are far more novelty now than anything else. There's also
but
a French
I
version.
could actually make them. So you just get some ice cream,
Mhm.
and then you melt some chocolate chips, and you got bonbons. They're just not going to be round.
Fair enough. Interesting. Okay, so it's a style. It's like a chocolate covered something. There's ice cream. There's a peanut butter one. I'm being very open. I've never looked into it.
I've never eaten them too.
Yeah.
I just like to eat pure chocolate and ice cream.
Well played. Yeah. Why do I have to do it?
And pizza. I love pizza so much.
Okay. So yes, chocolate covered ice cream is bonbons. Interesting. Okay. When you said that, I'm like, you sit around eating bonbons all day. I'm like, well, maybe. What is it? Who would I choose? I'm like, well, I don't know. The bonbon girl might actually be pretty fun. So I don't know who she is. I'm gonna be very open with you, Starr. Please don't choose me as a judge. I'm shit at judgment on this one. I'm not the guy. I'm terrible.
It's okay.
I'm terrible. That's not my thing. I wouldn't want.
Okay.
I wouldn't want the job.
We're here to talk about our past pain. We're not,
I'm not trying to create new trauma for somebody by saying they're not good enough based on my crazy opinion.
No, it's okay. I mean, the fact is, it doesn't matter if I win or lose.
Right.
I'm just having fun, and I don't really take all that seriously.
No,
it's just something from.
This isn't even for you. I'm actually more curious on I don't know much on the industry. So to say Miss Teen, well, you said, well, Mrs. the Mrs. category, not dumb. Like, we have been through it. We know stuff. I have masters. I've done things.
Well, no, I mean, we're all smart. I mean.
Okay. But it's more on the beauty for the young side. It's not so much about intelligence.
I mean, we all have to have the looks part.
Okay.
But the interview is very important.
Okay. Yeah. I am coming from a place that knows nothing. So I'm like, I don't know.
No, that's okay. You can ask me anything.
Right. And then the senior one, is it almost, it's not about beauty, it's about talent. And
No, I mean, it's hot grandma.
Hot grandma. That's a thing.
I'm going to be hot grandma.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hot grandma. Okay.
I'm going to be hot grandma. You got to see my mother-in-law, she is 82 and she's hot grandma. I think she should do it because all the guys at the church are chasing her around. She's got so many boyfriends, but she's not interested in any of them.
Oh, okay. So she has so many suitors, but she's not choosing it.
Suitors.
Gotcha.
I tell her,
Grandma still got it.
Grandma still got it. I don't believe that you ever lose it.
I don't know. I think there's some people that fucking lose it. So there's people lose it.
You could lose it, but you still will have it. Listen, and here's my perspective on that. For someone that I believe you're better off losing it than having it, because if you lose it, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
you're in a better place.
You're saying ignorance is bliss is better to never have it.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. This is fun. Hi, Grandma. Divorced area. The Mrs. is a different thing. You keep saying Mrs. Captivating too. Is this different categories?
Yeah. So that pageant has 4 different categories.
Okay. What are those ones?
Miss, Ms., Mrs., Teen.
Oh, okay. Well, you said Mrs. Captivating. I didn't know if captivating is
Mrs.
one category too.
There's Mrs. Captivating, Miss Captivating, Ms. Captivating, Miss Teen Captivating.
What does the captivating part mean? Is it like the most interesting? Like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So the goal is, to be captivating, to be unique, be special. They're going to pick the girl that they believe is captivating.
Okay. So is this a separate thing from like the pageant winner and the captivating is another thing, or is it the same thing?
All the same thing.
So it's just one winner and the captivating is just part of it.
Yep.
Okay. Again, yeah.
But there's 4 divisions. So there's going to be 4 winners. We're just different ages.
Okay. So the captivating is like champion.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Interesting. So now we've got like you won Mrs. Michigan captivating. And are you currently champion or I don't know?
I'm currently captivating in Michigan.
Okay, got it. And so now we're like, all right, now I'm using this platform that I have raised
Now I'm going to
awareness.
go
I'm
and try to
here.
be the most captivating in the nation.
Right. And okay, are you going for Mrs. Captivating America?
It's just, yeah, basically the whole country.
Is there a pageant for that, or is that separate, or is that
Oh, yeah, it's in September.
really? Okay, that's a big deal.
Yes. I mean, no, Labor Day weekend. Is that September? Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that a kitten? A lion back there?
This one? Oh yeah, but he's not really here. It's just a photo. If I had a
Not
real,
really.
if I
Well,
had
no,
a,
I mean in the photo, but
oh yes, if I had a real lion in here, I would be far more panicked. Or still, I don't know what I would do.
so ask me something about nursing or mental health or
Okay.
anything.
All right. When you're helping people working through the grieving cycles of what they've gone through, or even if you're there in their final moments and they're going through the reflection on their life or all the stuff they've been through and they're trying to work through it in their final moments, what's the most common things that you've heard people say, like when you have them like reflect on their life, or some of the things that you hear them say, like if I were to have gone over it again with what I know now, here's what I would have changed. Like, what are some of the most common things that when people go, this is my life lesson? What would you say are the most common ones you've heard?
Well, I think a lot of times at the end of life, people are just reliving their childhood. At end of life, what I've seen, because I watch people die frequently, a lot of what I do is hospice care, and it's people are in. I don't see a lot of people regret expressing dreams, like what I said, like with the older woman with her mother, is that I see patients reliving their childhood and those happy memories. When you are at end of life, you are in a dreamlike state. When you're on hospice care, we keep you calm and peaceful, and you drift in and out of consciousness. You can hear if you're asleep. You know, if your family's talking to you, you can hear what you're saying, but you're dreaming about your life. You're doing what they call a life review. And I don't really see a lot of people expressing regret for their lives. I see a lot of people happily reliving their childhood, and that's why sometimes you'll hear, especially with older patients, them calling for their mother. Or if you see someone reaching out, it's because they're imagining themselves young again. So I encourage family members when they're seeing those things to be happy and allow them to rest because they're happy at that time and they're resolving their issues before they pass. Because I believe, as someone that has witnessed a lot of death, since 2008, that people have their spirits have to be ready to leave their body. Um, as someone that's resuscitated patients successfully, unsuccessfully, had patients pass naturally, unnaturally, even if the body has let go, the spirit will hang on. And I've seen medically impossible things. So,
All right.
for
So
example,
go ahead.
go ahead.
So then, like, all right, very end of life, they're going through a system of being able to release. And like, I've seen the reach
Yeah.
for the corner of the rooms, and I've seen the things like
Yeah.
this where there are systems that do seem to be just built in place for people when they do pass on. Have you had like time and spoke with people even before those moments to go like, all right, you lived 89 years, or you lived for, 75 years, or, 90 plus years? What are some of the things that would you have changed anything, or what are the advices? Like, I'm more curious on like if there's wisdom before it gets to final moments. What is the most common wisdom nuggets that have been given from people who have been like, I've been around for almost 100 years, or maybe even 100 years. Let me share my wisdom before I go. What is some of the wisdom that's been like the most impactful that you've heard?
I was with a woman, and she was in her 90s, and I was in my 30s, and I wasn't ready to have children yet. And she had never been a mother. She was getting ready to pass on, and she told me not to wait too long to have a baby. She said, and she told me how to have a, like, not in graphic detail, but she just told me to make sure that I had children, that she regretted that her and her husband had never had a child because she was dying in the nursing home, and she was there, and maybe her life would have been different if she would have had a son or daughter to take her home or be with her at end of life. And I was with her and she just gave me that advice. And obviously I took it because I have Matthew. He's 2 years old now. But I always remember that. And I think of her and I think she would be really proud of me for listening to her.
That's amazing, especially with like it's funny how a lot of people's society right now are living out like the storyline for Idiocracy. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Okay, so the premise is that the people who are the most educated or like the people who have like the most productivity right now are like it's just not the right time to have a kid. We got to get our finances in order first. Let's make sure our life is in order. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. And the people who have the most education are postponing or not having children. And then the people who are like, the hillbillies or the people who are underprivileged having like 9, 10, 15 kids. Like they don't care. They're just having tons of kids. And then eventually the people who are like the high education going like, it was just never the right time. It was never the right time are having almost no children. And then there's tons of people who are born in undereducated areas until the whole entire population just becomes undereducated. And you're running into the thing where they're like, we're just not having kids. We're not going to have kids. You know what? I don't think it's the right environment. I think this world's too crazy to bring children into it. What kind of people would bring a child into this world? And then you got people who are just humping like rabbits and they don't care. And like, so then the population just becomes the generations of people who are just born in impoverished or, uneducated areas and come from backgrounds or families that don't value education as much as a foundation value. And so then the population just becomes like uneducated overall. It's just, over hundreds of years, what does this look like? And it's kind of the premise of the movie where if you go 10,000 years into the future, it's just people who have no education with high technology.
That's what happened to me is that, like I waited too long. I thought I needed money and I needed all this education. And then when I was 40 and finally ready to have Matthew, I couldn't get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit and I went to the doctor and they said, you need IVF or you're not going to get pregnant. And at that time, I was faced with the choice of if I leave the ER, more people are going to die because there's not enough people there, or I can have a child. And I said, well, maybe I'm not going to have a child because if I walk away, these people die. But I'm a woman of faith, and I'm not one to push religion on people, but I believe that my sacrifice was rewarded because Matthew's not supposed to be here.
Yeah, well, almost all kids are miracles. So I think that's one of the
no,
things.
but I mean, he's not. They said he couldn't be here,
right?
And I didn't have the procedure. The doctor, but then some doctors say that you got to do this, and it's $40,000, and they just want to make money. But
that's true too. This goes in almost all industries.
We never know, but I would like to believe my sacrifice was rewarded.
Yeah, no, and congrats, by the way. It's a beautiful thing. It's awesome. Yeah, and people do prey on people's worst times. It's a sad industry. This is why you said with the nursing homes, and you see now you're like, I would love to have a kid, and they're like, give me $40,000, and I'll raise your odds. Not even a guarantee. I'll raise your odds. And like it's a really twisted world we're in where people will try to get the highest ticket they can off of somebody's highest source of pain.
Yeah, and I just said, you know what? If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna it's not even about the money. When you want something, it's just I think about the damage hormonally and the emotional chaos that taking all that medicine causes and the risk. With any procedure, medically, it's a risk. And to put yourself through all that surgery as a woman, and you take high hormones, you risk yourself getting cancer.
Sure.
And if I have this child with all these hormones, am I going to be alive to take care of him?
Well, what kind of health is your child going to be in with all these hormones going crazy?
Or are there going to be 10 of them? And then I'm going to
have a litter. Yeah.
And then they talk to you about reduction. They put 5 in, and that's a deep question because if, let's say I had 5, I would keep all 5. Even if they said, well, we need to take 1 out or all of them are die, I'll say that's the chance I'll take. Because I can't, as a nurse, as a caretaker, I can't eliminate life. I can only try to sustain it.
Sure. Yeah, it's noble. That's a pretty powerful message that that lady gave you. Like to like have your baby. Have like
And
don't
she
go
was
without.
right, and but and I still see her. Her name's Ruth, and she loved cookies. I would bring her cookies. I used to drive those people in those that nursing home crazy because Ruth's bed would be full of cookies.
Hmm.
And she'd be like, "Oh, you brought me a cookie," and the cookies would be in the bed, and then they'd have. But Ruth loved those cookies, and I feel like a lot of these people were my grandparents. I love my grandparents, but a lot of these people, I just love them. And there was another guy named George. George, he was the coolest old man you ever got. There was a nurse's desk, and there was a door, and it would open and shut. George would come up on his wheelchair and bang on the door and go, "Hello, hello, hello, hello." And George would eat cookies in his bed too, and he nicknamed me Cockroach
Why would he call
because
you?
me and
Why would he call you that?
he, so I would work midnights. I was about 25 years old, and me and my friend that worked with me, we were in the room and we were taking care of George. We were cleaning him up because I would help do the hygiene for the patients. And he said, y'all are like a couple of cockroaches in here in the middle of the night
Why would you say that? That's a,
because that's how George was.
okay. All right.
So for the rest of that's what he called me, Cockroach.
I I don't know if that was meant to be nice. I don't know. I don't know.
No, but it was funny, and it was George. So
Oh,
George can call me, and I go. And so me and Sander, we called each other Cockroach.
okay. All right. Okay, George. Yeah.
George, I mean, I love George.
It's I think it's neat to hear like the wisdom of people who've been through a lot of stuff and they've been around for a long time, and I think there's a lot of wasted wisdom when people don't take into account the experiences that they've had that they can share, and maybe you know uh, help some people not make massive mistakes thinking that they know all when they can talk to people who have been through it and go, well, let me
Uh-huh.
at least help you not make some of these mistakes and learn the hard way. And like, thanks, Ruth, because Matthew exists. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
Matthew does exist.
yeah. So thank you, Ruth, for that advice. And I think if we can listen to some of our elders, we won't be like, instead of dismissing, there's opportunity there for us to all have, a better life, not from thinking that we're the center of the universe, but listening to people who have been through the things that we're going through a different version of, but it's still the same thing.
Well, I had a patient last week, and she was telling me about, what my son, and we talk about him, and because I'm open with all of my patients, we're friends, even though I'm their caregiver, and she was explaining to me about how I got to be careful about people that watch my son, and how she had a child and she left him with a neighbor that she shouldn't have trusted, and she lost her child. He was kidnapped. He was never found again. And she's in her 70s, and she's got several other children, and she explained to me how it happened, how she went out, she left the child with the neighbor for just a couple minutes, and she came back and her child was gone. And she told me that, and she just explained to me, like, you have to make sure you leave your child with someone you trust because you have a beautiful baby and people will try to steal him.
It's a lot of fear. That's a scary scenario.
She was in the South, and she was a migrant worker, and they took her son to work on another migrant farm. They stole him. He was, that was trafficking. He was a victim of trafficking.
Hmm.
She never got him back.
Weird.
So,
We're in a weird world. What a weird world.
and that's
I guess don't leave your son with anybody who's connected to migrant
Oh
trafficking.
no, he's always in the house with either my husband or I, is always home. I work mostly from home. I
Well,
do health education via telehealth across the country. I have several licenses. And then I have a nursing home practice. And then I go, so I only leave a couple hours at a time. And someone's always here with him, one of us. And then we have, help caregivers that come in and help us while he's in the house. So he's not just wandering around throwing things, breaking paintings. But
yeah. Or hanging out with any migrant worker traffickers, which is probably not a good babysitter to begin with. I don't know why that was a good idea. So
Well,
don't do that. I'm with
no,
her on
no,
this one. Don't leave your
well,
don't leave your kids with anybody connected to migrant working trafficking. I agree.
oh God, I cannot imagine,
I also don't
you know,
want to imagine this.
what my patient's been through. I mean, to grow up poor, having to work 16 hours a day on a farm, and she is telling me about how she couldn't get water until they told her, it was down south and it was 100 degrees, and she couldn't get water until someone told her that she could have water. And they would be, these are children,
Mm-hmm.
8 years old, and this is not that long ago. This is this is and it's horrible. I mean, she's explaining to me how people were passing out in the field. Children 8 years old were working the farms, and the person would stand by the bucket of water, and every 4 hours let them come have a drink.
What a crazy world we're at right now.
But so
Yeah, injustice is a really difficult thing, and people are trying to say they're fighting for injustice, but it's really funny how, like, right now people are fighting for something that's social when things like this are happening. So I'm with you. I'm with you. The elderly thing is monstrous. And you see people fighting more for, like, I don't like people who use these words versus going, hey, are we taking care of people who are actually being tortured?
I mean, I don't think all nursing homes are bad. I've worked at some that are outstanding, that do a good job, that really care about their patients. But I think that we can do better.
Sure.
And
if
I
you
don't
are
think there's anything wrong with saying that we can do better. And
or at least striving to do better, try to improve, right? If you could leave anybody with, like, this is where I'm making my hard stand, and you could make your declaration of this is my purpose, and you could change the world, what would it be? What would this declaration be?
my purpose as a woman, as a mother, as a nurse, is to show others mercy and compassion, to teach others to be caregivers like I am as a natural mother and caregiver, and to teach others how to care for their families, their children, their aging relatives, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good message. Is there any way that people can support you more in this mission? How would you, like, say, this is where we have to go to unify? Do you want people supporting the pageant? Do you want people going to
on my
Patients
social
Rising?
media, they can go on Patients Rising, Impact in Healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great website where it's nurses and healthcare providers. We're trying to increase staffing ratios to help make things better in hospitals and nursing homes and healthcare facilities. Because I think that the more nurses like me that are out there that can care for people, the better things are going to be for everybody.
Yeah. I think it's a great message. And, like, thank you so much for, like, stepping up and trying to be that voice for people who, like, I feel unheard. Like, good job. Like, you're fighting for something that you believe in, and you're fighting to help people who are having a hard time fighting for themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the warrior's way. I see you fighting. So well done, and thank you for being, like, that voice that you're being. That's cool, and, like, also teaching me about this stuff that I don't know about. It's ironic. Look at this beard. You think I've been in a lot of pageants?
No, and I mean, and that's the purpose, is that people are just like, you do what? Why? What's the purpose? Why? And a lot of it is just fun. And I can do all this stuff without having a pageant, but I think women, we got to find something for ourselves, whether it's a pageant, whether it's playing basketball or dance, or going out with the girls on the weekend. We got to find something as moms, as wives, so we keep our identities. Because like my husband, he likes to play in the garage, he likes his cars, he needs to have his thing, and us women, we need to have our thing. I can't be dependent on someone else for my identity. I got to create my own, and this is me carving out my little niche.
Heck yeah, even if it's on the tallest of shoes.
I'm not wearing those stilts. I don't want to fall. You know what I mean? I've got tall shoes, but I don't. If all the contestants are at this height and then I'm up here,
Yeah.
the judges are going to be like, "What is her problem? Why does she wear the stilts?"
Well, it is their job to judge.
They're going to say, "Does she have some kind of ego problem?"
I don't know. Or she's just trying to reach for the stars. Well, speaking of Starr, thank you so much, Starr, for hanging with me. I'm going to go grab some food, but this has been cool.
Just about blown my phone. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're recording, but we're about to hop off right now.
How does this work? I don't know how this works.
Oh, well, we're going to post you up and people can support you and be able to see some more stuff on you. And so they'll be on the battlefield of the mind. And then we'll be able to share some more links for you so people can get in touch with you.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Does this all go up or do you edit it or how does that work?
We're going to clean up the audio so it sounds good.
Oh, yeah, me like saying you'll take all the dumb stuff I said out.
I don't know. Did you say any dumb stuff? I don't know. It felt like
I don't remember.
But yeah, we're good. I think that we're just going to share what we shared. I don't think there's anything crazy about it. Let's get your message out.
No, I know it's not crazy.
Sounds good. Let's leave it as it is. But otherwise,
all right.
Yeah, we'll put it up and welcome to being on the battlefield of the mind, and we'll share your story and share your stuff with everybody.
All right.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.